My name is Samantha Espinosa. This is my public health campaign project. I am doing it on overeating, and this presentation is called The Goldilocks Approach to Overeating. So my approach to the public health campaign is going to be to provide education and resources regarding overeating. The primary purpose of this campaign will be the prevention of obesity-related disease and overall health promotion. The problem of overeating is multifaceted and therefore requires a multifaceted approach to the campaign. For this project, I will focus on providing education on proper nutrition, reading food labels, maintaining appropriate portion sizes, and sufficient water intake. These four components set the foundation for preventing the overconsumption of food. Because overeating leads to excessive fat stores on the body, also known as obesity, preventing overeating reduces the health risks associated with obesity and obesity-related diseases. My approach to the campaign will be to provide education and resources. And how it will work is I will plan on using my connections with local health agencies to develop and promote a county-wide health campaign regarding overeating. I have several connections in New Lisbon and in central Wisconsin that are health related and deal with the public. I have connections with Juneau County DHS, Juneau County WIC, all of the local health clinics, the local hospital, the local gym, and several of our local restaurants. The clinics and government agencies have the capability to play video presentations. They have television screens and radios and other technologies available to play a presentation like this. The other agencies have websites, social media, and on-site areas for advertising and promotion. The concept would be to provide a professional video presentation that can be loop streamed locally for a period of time, along with promoting the video on social media and local websites. Each satellite location for the presentation would also have take-home materials, including the weekly meal planning template and handy portion control card I developed for this project. The participating businesses could also include products and coupons of their own, which would allow it to be more of an engagement and mutually beneficial experience for our community. So the first topic of the presentation is going to be providing information on basic nutrition, and that's food choice, how much calories is contained in certain foods, and just making people more aware of the content of what they're eating. Providing them information on what a calorie is. So a calorie is a unit of measure, but what does that mean? And why do we need it? And why should we know why it's important? So all of this information on this slide would be presented in a professional presentation to provide them information with why caloric information is important to know, and what the difference between calories can be, and how to make a balanced choice in the amount of food consumption. The next part is going to talk about how caloric needs are different for each person. So specific caloric needs vary based on age and sex and activity level. Someone who is younger and very active is going to need more calories than someone who is older and doesn't really vigorously exercise. So it's important to know how much calories your body needs to function, and how much your calorie count should be if you're trying to lose weight or gain weight, so you know how much food should be consumed in a day. So providing this information to the public will give them a better idea of where they should be around calorie-wise, which is good information to know when you're making proper food choice for your body. The next part of the presentation is going to talk about how to read food labels, and I picture this with with snacks and food on this table where the resources will be, so that people can actually see a real food label and have examples of how deceptive these can be. So they're confusing, and a lot of people don't pay attention to what this information means because they don't understand it. So it's important to know what the nutrition facts are of the food, especially if we're trying to pay attention to the caloric values that we're taking in. So this infographic really breaks down the sections of a food label, and my presentation will go in further depth of what that means as far as the different categories. So the biggest takeaway from this section I hope to provide is the deceptive tendencies of the prepackaged foods that are at our disposal. So, for example, this label here pictured says that there are 8 servings in this container of whatever it is this is. Let's say it's Oreos. So if you consumed the whole container of Oreos, the servings that you would be taking in is 8 times all of this information. So the 230 calories you see here actually turns into 1,840 calories. And that is a good example of why it matters to pay attention to the food labels. The next part of the presentation is going to be focused on portion control and understanding what a portion is and how much food to put on the plate, how much food to take. So a serving size is an exact amount of food. A portion is how much you actually put on your plate. So a serving size might be half of an ear of corn, but you might have a whole ear of corn. So that's the portion that you're consuming. So it's important to understand the difference between serving size and portion, and also what is a proper portion. Portion control is important when you're trying to lose weight or maintain weight, and overeating is directly tied to weight gain, and a great way to overeat is to have larger than suggested portions. So for a good example on this slide is the spaghettis. The smaller plate is the correct portion size according to the nutritional facts on the pasta and the marinara sauce. The second plate is significantly larger, and that's probably the standard size that we would get if we went out to a restaurant. The difference between these two plates could be more than 200 calories, maybe 300 calories that you would be consuming just in those two differences. The next part of the presentation will focus on hydration, and I thought that it would be nice to include bottles of water on the resource table for people to take with, just as a kind of a reminder, or even if some local businesses were really interested and wanted to sponsor like printing reusable water bottles, that'd be a great way to get the more of a focus on hydration. We all know that water is essential to life. Every cell, tissue, and organ in our bodies needs water to function. But it's more common for people to be dehydrated than actually hydrated. Most people don't take in enough water to keep their bodies at full hydration level. So this part of the presentation will focus on not just taking in water, but how else you can get your water intake. Like water is found in fruits and vegetables like watermelon and cucumber and tomatoes, Jello. These are other ways to get water intake in, and also paying attention to those empty calories that can come from fluids like sodas and sports drinks and packaged teas that can have a lot of extra sugar in them and extra calories. And from that information provided earlier, we know that calories in excess cause weight gain and cause fat storage. So helping people be mindful of that. So we talked about how there will be a resource table or resource section where people can take home materials. I developed this portion control card. This is going to be the size of a business card. It'll be printed on cardstock. It fits neatly into a purse or a wallet, and it has kind of on-the-go ways to measure your food. So you know, if you're at a restaurant or you're away from home and you don't have measuring cups or a scale, you can use this as kind of a guide for how much you're taking in. The backside of the card will include a QR code that takes you right to heart.org, and that'll tell you more about the recommended daily serving sizes of all the food groups. I also developed this meal planner as part of something to take away from the presentation. A meal planner helps encourage people to plan their food consumption ahead of time. Thinking about what they're going to consume before they consume it allows people to make healthier choices and be more conscious of the food that they're going to take in. Lastly, I developed this flyer. This can be posted at participating locations. It can also be included in the take-home materials. Maybe there's a packet or some kind of like goodie bag we can do. This is kind of a fact sheet that allows people to absorb the information contained in the presentation on a quicker level. It also allows people who don't watch the whole presentation to still have some takeaway of the major themes of why overeating is harmful. So how we'll know that this worked, this public health campaign, we're going to gauge the success of the campaign by how many people we get to watch the presentation and engage with it. So we can keep track of how many materials we're passing out. We can also do special seminars or breakout sessions where we get a better idea of how many people are coming to these events or coming to the presentation. The purpose of the campaign is to provide information. It is our hope that this will then make people more inspired to live a healthier lifestyle, but whether or not people choose to adopt some or all of this information is beyond our control. So all we can control is providing the opportunity, and that's where we want to spend our resources in gauging the success, is how many people we get interested or how many people we get participating in the presentation. This last slide is a compilation of all of the resources that I used in getting this information and developing this presentation. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you for listening.